Again, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across Canada, around the world. Welcome to our session today. And we've got a really good session planned. We're going to keep this tight to an hour and make sure that we are respectful and mindful of that time. I've got a number of things that we want to go through. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and any questions you have, throw them into the Q&A as we're going through this, and we'd be delighted to answer them at the end of this session for sure. So let me just start by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we're on today. And while we meet today on this wonderful virtual platform, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the effect of residential schools and colonialism on Indigenous families and communities, and to consider how we are and can each, in our own way, try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. So welcome to Queen's, welcome to the business school, welcome to the economics department as we touch in on our professor who joins us today. But again, welcome to this program. We're delighted to have you on board for this. And again, I know most of you, many of you have already signed up in our plan to join us in January, January 12th. We're terribly excited about that. We're going through the final module of the current cohort that's in today, or then in this at this time. We had a wonderful cohort in between January and June earlier this year. So we're excited as this builds momentum in this particular aspect of business or other organizations, for-profit, not-for-profit, government on all three levels, etc., as this gets expanded in this burgeoning area of the world for sure. Important to measure impact. So my name is Glenn Hollis. Again, I've been with the Queen's University and Business School for a number of years. I'm also a CPIA graduate. I'm delighted to say that. And I welcome you here today. So this program, as I've shared in the webinar that many of you have seen, is the only program that measures good. And Dr. Bahman Kashi is going to talk a lot more about that. And from a student's perspective, we're going to get an interesting lens on that as well. So the agenda is pretty simple, intentionally so. I'd love it if you could just throw in, to the Q&A, just where you are and what industry you work in. Or company name, whatever you want to share. Do that now, throw it in. Love to see that, just to get a sense and start that networking thing as an important part of this course is going to be this program. Introductions, we're going to do program overview, as I mentioned, to Dr. Kashi, a program overview from a student lens. And we've got Sana here who's going to join us and share more. And then Q&A, lots of opportunity for your questions that may come up. And then we're going to wrap up, talk about networking opportunities and next steps. Part of where you are and where you're from. This is a kind of just a snapshot of some of the students we've had in this program this year. So very relevant. Right across Canada and in fact around the world, as I can say, because Sana joins us from Norway, from Oslo today, and we're delighted to have her here. But we've got students that have been in this program, have taken it, are taking it right across Canada in a number of different industries. And this is all, as you can see, in the wide-ranging for-profit, not-for-profit, government on all three levels, etc., entrepreneurs, investments, etc. So we're delighted to have you join us here today. So let me just, give you a sense broadly of the faculty that's involved in this. Dr. Murray joins us from the business school, and she is actually instrumental in bringing this into the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact that's in the business school at Queen's. But critically, this was created years ago and then recently revised, perfected, if you will, by Dr. Kashi and Dr. Cotton, who have run this program for a number of years. And we're delighted they've been instrumental in putting this program together. Specifically today, we're going to hear from Dr. Kashi shortly, who will tell you more about this program. Also, he is the president and founder of Limestone Analytics, a spin-off for-profit company that he's created in addition to his teaching at the Queen's University. But he can tell you much more about that and the relevance within this measure and impact space. And of course, we've got Sana who joins us, and Sana is delightfully at Charge Incubator, and she is a former graduate, and we're delighted to have her here. And she can tell you much more, much more about the program itself from the student lens. Oops. So I'm going to just toggle a little bit right now and get to another deck, if you'll allow me that patience. We can have Dr. Kashi join us. And welcome to you, Dr. Kashi, and welcome to this session today. And as I say, we're delighted that you're part of this program. So let me know when you want me to move ahead, but I'll play sort of time cop and mover of sorts to this as well.
Thank you so much, Glenn. It's a pleasure to be here. I assume you can hear me. So I'm Bahman Kashi. I've been conducting impact analysis, and I've been teaching this topic in for different types of audience throughout my professional career. I teach impact analysis at the economics department, at business school, at policy school, and then engineering faculty actually at Queen's, and I also do that at Carleton. But as Glenn mentioned, I also do that as a professional service for various entities. So CPIA, the program actually came out of the need of our clients actually asking for a training program where professionals can take in order to move in the direction that is highly demanded now in different industries and different sectors, which is better analysis of impact. So if we can jump in, Glenn, thanks for driving the slides. We can go to the next slide. The core idea here is that the program is trying to enable individuals and private, public, for-profit, and not-for-profit organizations to do more good. Now, this is a gap that I identified early in my career where I was not very happy to see how the analysis around impact, it's so narrow when it gets into every different sector. Like we have different sectors like the private sector, we have the public sector, and public sector has maybe transport, health, education, inclusion, etc. There are so many different areas, and people just specialize so fast, and the language doesn't translate well. But at the end of the day, everyone is talking about the same thing, which is the social impact. Everyone is concerned with the same goal. So I have really tried to sort of bring things together early in my career, and CPIA is something that is coming out of a lot of effort in that direction to basically connect the dots around social impact. So another way to think about it, if we go to the next slide, the question around like who cares about social impact and why do they care about it? If you think about that from a holistic perspective, everyone cares about social impact. If you're the government, your existence is because you're tasked with improving the well-being of the society. That's the reason why governments exist, either to bring stability, to improve life, to improve health, to improve education, to fill the gap where markets have failed. And that's a main mandate. Private sector is, of course, trying to ensure it can sustain its finances and earn a profit, but everyone in the private sector is also cares about the social impact. Like if there's negative social impact associated with the activity, all the financial benefits will be at risk. And forget about that, like individuals always care about the footprint they leave, and many organizations are keen on reporting better on what impact they leave on the environment and on the society. International NGOs exist because they want a better world, and they want to their efforts are in the directions where governments fail because each government might be focused on their own country, and international NGOs try to bring those together and fill the gap where governments fail. There are also events that happen. We are concerned with how different events, like a pandemic or like a trade imposed by another country, or any event. And often we talk about negative events, but sometimes we also talk about positive events. What if the Blue Jays end up playing in the seventh game, how is that event is going to impact life in Toronto, for instance, both positive and negative. These are things that might be out of our control, but we are still interested in knowing the impact of these. And domestic NGOs would be more entities that operate maybe in a specific regions, and they have a smaller focus, and they're also interested in knowing more about the impact they leave on the society, not just the good intentions, but also what is the bottom line impact at the end of the day. And these entities would do this because they either need to comply and do a standard reporting, or they're genuinely interested in actually making better decisions and do better for every dollar they spend or for every step they take. They want to maximize the effort. Sometimes organizations are trying to advocate for change, and doing better analysis and impact will enable them, will empower them to speak to it, to convince others. And something that I am very interested in personally, and that has been a part of my career, is this analysis, a quantitative analysis of impact, allows for partnerships among those entities you see on the left. If government and private sector want to join hands in order to do something that they cannot do alone, and we see that all the time, these partnerships, then they need to have a good understanding of how they each define impact and what are the impacts that matter to them. And therefore, better understanding of impact from different perspectives will allow for that, for forming better partnerships, more sustainable partnerships. So the approach we take in CPIA, we try to equip what we call the future chief impact officers with the tools and techniques they need to do different things around impact, from identifying, quantifying, measuring, and valuing impact, to analyzing impact for reporting, advocacy, and decision making, to integrating the different perspectives and valuation approaches that might be out there. Different perspectives might value things differently, and it's important to appreciate and understand that and be able to integrate that into one place, one framework. Navigating change. It's not, this is a major change happening in different industries, and navigating that and being a champion of change and creating change is a big part of it. How do we become more evidence-based decision makers? There's every time you think about analysis, there's always assumptions, and with those comes risk and uncertainty, and understanding how that comes in the picture is important. And lastly, financing impact. There's a lot of good intentions and gaps that need filling, and you need to figure out how to finance the activities that can help with that, and how finance comes into the picture. So this two boxes that you see here is supposed to be a picture of a toolbox that didn't translate well between my computer and Glenn's. But ultimately, what we want to equip the audience or the alumni of the program is with an impact officer's toolbox, or a chief impact officer toolbox that includes a lot of different bits and pieces that we can get to in the next slide. We put them into three different modules. The first module is focusing on how to quantify and measure impact. It's really focusing on measuring impact, but before you can measure something, you need to figure out a way to quantify it. If there are many different things that are important to us: education, stability, income, health, etc. And if you want to measure impact on these things, you have to first understand what are the different ways, what are different indicators that represent various aspects of these impacts. In the second module, we turn our attention to putting together frameworks that will allow us to do impact analysis. These frameworks are basically helping us capture all impacts, identify impacts of different interventions, put them into some measure that becomes comparable. If we have impacts of different type, by valuing them, we can make them comparable. And we need to understand what are the limitations around valuation methods. Impacts can happen also at different points in time, and we can't just compare them if we don't learn how to account for the timing of impact. Similarly, impacts could be different from different perspectives, and there could be impacts in different pathways. And the ability to integrate the alternative perspectives and impact pathways will allow us to say, okay, if a decision, if an action, if a policy if an intervention, a charitable activity, etc., or an organization's approach to HR or whatever you're considering, does the benefits of it actually outweigh the costs or not? Or what is the least cost approach to achieve the intended outcomes? They're all different decisions that can be informed, but you have to be able to bring all different types of impacts together before you can quantify and qualify the trade-offs. In the third module, we focus on some nuances that are critical for more accurate impact analysis, capturing how inflation comes in the picture, risk and uncertainty, financing approaches, and I'm going to just jump over spreadsheets and go to strategy. Like, what are the different strategies to consider when it comes to communicating impact and or institutionalizing impact analysis? That has been a very important part of the course because you can spend a lot of time quantifying, measuring, analyzing, but if you can't communicate it, that's all wasted time. The spreadsheets are something that might be scary for some people and might be a piece of cake for some others. The way we have designed the course is that we want to bring in people from diverse backgrounds, and also we want to bring people who might be taking different pathways out of the program. Regardless, whenever we are talking about quantities and measurements, it's important to gain confidence in using quantitative tools, such as spreadsheets. So what we do is to provide the participants with various opportunities to learn more about working with a spreadsheet. So even if you don't have that background, before the course and during the course, there will be lots of opportunities to learn more about using quantitative tools, including spreadsheets. So if we go to the next slide, this is just building on what we discussed in terms of the 3 modules, but what I add here is that each module is basically 4 weeks of material, and then it culminates in a capstone day. This is something that Glenn has probably covered before. It might be a bit of a repetition, but we provide some prep material that is optional depending on your background that you can go through. But once the modules start, you have access to online asynchronous content, but there will be weekly optional discussion sessions that will happen. But the capstone day is synchronous. It's online, but it's synchronous, meaning that it's from the morning until the afternoon, and everyone will work on in small groups together with project coaches, completing assignments and hands-on activities related to the material they learn in the module. So if we go to the next slide, Glenn mentioned about the faculty. I would just add that for the capstone day, we have the project coaches that come in. We have other instructors such as Dr. Lloyd Ellis, who covers the various methods for looking at impact on jobs and employment that is important for all different types of actors. And Brett Crowley is a colleague of mine who covers a data visualization and storytelling as part of the communication strategy in the course. Now, if you go to the next slide, we can skip this. I've talked over the different topics covered. I think this is the last slide. Is that correct, Glenn? Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna jump too deep into all the different topics covered in the course, but these are the different tools in the toolbox that we provide for the Chief Impact Officer of the future.
Excellent. I will just stop sharing if I could. And let me know when you can. Is it just we've got our screen back? So I mean, just to give you a sense, and again, I am a student as well. Before we hear from Sana, one of the things that really brought it home for me was I've always been involved in various jobs capacities, as a marketer, but always an element within this area of impact, specifically with Tim Hortons. I was with Tim Hortons for a number of years. And what brought this home to me was the reverse engineering of a program that we had at Tim's, which was the Tim Hortons Children's Foundation. And Bahman shared a book with me about a year and a half ago. It's called More Than Good Intentions. And to give you a sense, and I'm sure this is true, and we'll hear from Sana in terms of her experience, but impact projects are often based on this idea of we'll create these proxy measures. We know in our gut that it's a good thing, this idea of doing good. But truly being able to measure it, because more and more we had scrutiny, outsiders, insiders that were interested in the actual measure. Are we moving the needle? Are we taking the investment money that we've got in this particular space, in this case, Tim Hortons Children's Foundation, and are we actually doing good with it, such that we want to continue investing into this? Because you have to remember, we had a lot of franchisees with a very vested interest as they were paying for this, as well as customers paying through things like Camp Day. So the Tim Hortons Children's Foundation, it brings in kids to camp that are have an economically disadvantaged background. And we used to measure this by, are we putting X number of kids through camp each year? And we knew that we were doing well with this and doing good with this because these kids would come out the other end and these were wonderful kids, life-changing moments as we were putting them through the Tim Hortons Children's Camp. But more and more scrutiny on the dollars that were going into this, building 6, now 7 camps. Is it worth the investment? So we really needed to look at this in a more quantitative, evidence-based, rigorous way. And this is exactly what this course teaches. So beyond simply we're putting X number of kids through camp each year, having things from a cost benefit analysis like, are they actually moving on? Are they going to complete high school? Once they complete high school, let's track them and let's see if they are actually going on to post-secondary. Let's see if they then go on to do things in life that are productive, advancing, and ultimately building when it comes to economy, environment, personal gain, those sort of things. So more than good intentions was really brought home in this case. So I'd like to ask Sana to come off mute. And Sana is a recent student in this program, and she's also a consultant with Charge Incubator. And I know that you've got a strong focus on building leaders, empowering leaders, equipping leaders to do more and do good, especially a lot of female entrepreneurs and leaders. But tell us a little bit about kind of what you do at Charge Incubator in the area of impact, if you would, Sana, and also, what ultimately this course added to that in terms of your capabilities and understanding.
Yeah. Hi all. I'm Sana. I am currently in Norway, living in Oslo, and I'm working in an entrepreneurial incubator which basically focuses on immigrants who want to start their own businesses because immigrant integration in any country is a challenge nowadays. And entrepreneurship is considered one of the tools or one of the ways that immigrants do integrate. So we specialize in helping immigrants who want to set up their own businesses and who want to maybe expand their business. I was hired as a program facilitator as well as an impact analyst in the organization. We are a nonprofit organization. Initially, what I did was, as a program facilitator, I was also one of the instructors. So we have like a 6-month course for the new ventures for the entrepreneurs. It starts with general basic academic training, and then there is the practical training as well, and then at the end of it, we sort of have like we call it a demo day where the entrepreneurs who have gone through the 6 months of training show what they have come up with, whether they have registered their companies, whether they have started or not, or where they stand. And that is the most important day for us to see whether the program actually helped them or not. So while we are doing the entrepreneurs or while the people are going through the program, we are conducting an analysis during the program as well, just to see what the impact is on them right now, whether the program is helping them or not. Do we need to tweak it somehow or not? So when I started with them with Charge Incubator 2 years ago, my first job was to carry out an analysis of the previous alumni, because this organization has been going on for since to 2018. So it was 5 years at the time, 4 years at the time. Um, so I was sort of in charge of making a database and seeing which companies we incubated, which are successful, which are not working anymore. So I was tracking all those previous alumni at the time as well. And then I was also the facilitator. So the current cohorts were also, I was also talking to them. So when I started, what initially what we were doing was we were just looking at which companies we incubated, which are currently working, which are not working. The ones who are working, are they earning any revenue? What sort of companies they are, like what sort of industries they are in. So just basic. Our core focus was on the revenue. So when we were reporting to our shareholders, who give us the financing to run this program, we would normally tell them, oh, we have, like, for the past 4 years we have incubated, let's say, 90 ventures, and they are 40% of them are still working. So those were our figures and the revenue figures. But even during the programs, and when we started looking at the previous alumni and the current ones, we started to think about, because sorry, I'm cutting in my discussion here. I have to go a little back, because I'm also doing a PhD in women entrepreneurship. So because and my PhD was on women entrepreneurship, and this is all immigrant entrepreneurship. So this was sort of like an overlap as well. So during my PhD, I was looking at not just the economic impact or the financial impact. I was looking at how their identities have changed. So when I started doing the analysis work in for Charge Incubator, initially we were looking at revenues, but then I started talking to my supervisors and my colleagues, and we were like that, okay, we need to look at the other impacts as well. How did it change somebody professionally, or not? How did this impact them personally? Was it was the life any better? Was it worse? How did they feel about the programs? So we started doing that initially as well, but after because I was doing all of that on my own, and I was a little we can do this, we can do that. So we were going in all directions and not exactly organized or focused. I thought that I should have some sort of a basic information or background, or have an experience to do the analysis, to conduct the analysis even better, which is why I enrolled in the CPIA program. What I can say is that it has helped me a lot with my PhD as well, but during my current job right now, because now we can see that, okay, the impacts, the revenues are one thing, but they are like, what I was talking to a colleague of mine a couple of days ago, was that it's on multiple levels. The revenue also has multiple levels of impact. So the revenue that the company is earning, that is the impact on them. But then they have employees. Some have employees and some don't have employees, and how they are impacting, like what that cost if somebody is a member of, because I can give you an example. One of our ventures was an online app for tourists around Oslo, and he has grown his membership up to around 200,000 people. And we were talking to a couple of members who had taken his app and who were members in the app as well, and they were saying that, yes, we pay such and such for this app, but then we get the latest attractions of the tourist attractions latest, and we can, even if we are living in Oslo or we are living in this country, there are things that we miss. But even if we pay a little bit of that and we get that information we are interested in, so it's useful for us. So the revenue or the money has multiple levels of impact as well. And then when I was finished with the course, and because I had like the previous experience for or identity for formation for my PhD. So I started asking questions from the people on how they feel when they are going through this program, or do they think that this has brought any value to their life. Most of the the people who were currently in the program, we were asking them in the beginning, mid of the program and end of the program. So we were conducting all the surveys, and we were talking them regularly. The replies that we got were that whether or not they would start a business, the program was really helpful, making them organize their own thoughts, organize their own businesses, or organize themselves in their lives. So whether or not the businesses were successful or not, they were more organized because of this program. So the next time, in 2023, when we wrote the feedback report, the program analysis report for the shareholders, we had like a special section in it, um, that it's not just the economic impact, it is personal impacts as well. And now we are building on that case a little bit more, that this program, the program that we are conducting, um, it has to do with personal well-being as well. So before I was doing it on we can include this, we can include how many employees are there, we can include the quality of life. But now I have a little bit more focused, I have a little bit more in depth, or I can focus on what things to look at and what things we can omit for the moment. I would say that this program, the modules, the way it was programmed, the way it was conducted, it was really helpful. The time, the sessions, everything was really good. But then again, there were some places, some lectures that were a little bit too much information, because this is an online course. This is not you don't go to the class regularly every day. So it's an online thing where we have to work on it ourselves. Some of the lectures were a little bit too much information, where we had to read and understand it on our own time, which is also a good thing. I don't mind doing that, because that would only enhance the learning process. Other than that, I really enjoyed the capstones as well, because that also gave sort of like an more organization, or more focus to what should be done or how it should be done. So personally, I can say that this program, right now, I am actually applying what I have learned in this program in my job as well, and it is really it helped me a lot to organize, and to see and to focus, and to have a proper direction to what needs to be done, to have a proper analysis as well. So yeah, that
That's
was
great.
all from my side.
I know, as a marketer, I know that telling a good story is critical. And that was one of the things that interested me about this program was, I've always said, always been taught, the numbers will set you free. The more you can know about the numbers, the more credible a story you can tell, the more concrete results you can share. And again, you've got clients, you've got customers, you've got people that you work with. Did you find that to be true as well, Sana? This idea of the more you're confident in what you're measuring, the better story you can tell about the results.
Yes, and we are a non-profit organization, and we have a couple of we incubated a couple of projects that were also non-profit, and one of them was called the Human Aspect. And they have like this an online community, which started off as a help for psychological issues, that people who just need to talk. So it started off as that, and they were not charging anything for any like. So when we were looking at the impact for them, because they were one of the very first ones, and I was talking to the owner recently, and he said that when we got the fee, when we were asked how it is going on, we didn't have any numbers.
Mhm.
So it was really difficult for charge organization and for them as well to let others know that, okay, yeah, we have done such and such. But then again, the number of people, as the number of people started to increase, and as their base increased, and the people who were using their website or their app, that was a quantifiable thing, that they could tell. So when you say that, when we when we clearly know what to measure, it is helpful to it is easier to tell the story. Yes, it is. But then again, from my perspective, who is coming from, because I'm doing an immigrant female entrepreneurship identity formation, it is a little bit overlapping with psychology as well. I feel that yes, numbers and a concrete target does tell a better story, but then the human aspect also has to be in there somewhere. So yes, the clearer the objective, the better the story, maybe, yes. But then you have to have a human aspect on that, because that makes the story story.
That's fair. That's fair. And again, I'll encourage anybody to throw into the Q&A any questions they have, as we go through this. Happy to answer any of the questions that you may be thinking of as we're sort of landing the plane and finishing off on this webinar. But we want to make sure that we do get to questions that you may have, or anything that's on your mind. As you begin this program, think about this program, whatever the case might be, and we'd be delighted to answer those for sure. So, and I will leave my email up at the end of this. If there's any questions that are, I'll call them lingering questions, you would like answered after the fact, or you want to connect with me or connect with Dr. Kashi directly, absolutely no problem. So feel free to throw any questions that you've got in there. One of the questions that was sent to me in advance, and I'll open this up to Dr. Kashi, is the question around, I'll call it the details of this. Is this a mathy course? One of the fears that we have heard in the past is, I'm not a math expert. I don't have a degree in economics. How mathy is this when we think about things like cost benefit analysis and spreadsheets? Should I be terrified? Should I be open-minded? I can speak to it, certainly from a student's perspective, but what say you, Dr. Kashi?
Thanks, Glenn, for that. So I would say that the course is really designed to be mindful of the fact that people come to this from very different programs, from different backgrounds, and different levels of confidence around numbers, math, and also quantitative tools and spreadsheets, etc. So over the years, we have really made it foolproof in terms of being able to make sure everyone travels the same distance, irrespective of what background they come into the program with. This includes a lot of optional case studies, a lot of optional materials that would simplify things and ease people into skills that they might not be very fond of necessarily. So that's something that, maybe one quick thing I can say is that over my 15 years of training professionals in these skills, I've never failed anyone because they couldn't pick up skills related to quantitative work. So that has never become a barrier for people's learning journey in the program.
Sure. I see a question from Wafa. I was trying to get some understanding of it. I think it relates to the toolbox, the templates, the toolbox, the different things that you'll provide, or the course will provide, to empower people to understand how to measure and how to bring that measurement to life. And he speaks to he or she, I'm sorry, Wafa, speaks to the Canva method to measure impact on many levels, social, economic, environmental impact. Are you familiar with that particular model, Dr. Kashi? And maybe you can speak to the modeling you use from a cost benefit analysis standpoint.
Yes, of course. Yes, in fact, if I remember correctly, the Canva comes from also the business canvas approach that is very commonly taught. It's not coming from that necessarily, but it's a similar concept. In fact, that's not the only framework you can consider when you're looking at impacts beyond the financial bottom line. In general, in the space of ESG, there are many different sort of standards, templates out there, and all of them are relevant. What we really focus on, we start a program by looking at these. We start a program by considering all the off-the-shelf sort of approaches, but we also want to train chief impact officers that can stand the change. Because every template, every framework you see out there evolves over time. Every time there has been efforts to sanitize things, those efforts have always been alive, meaning that they build on what has been there in the past, and they will evolve in the future as we learn more about the consequences of our actions. We constantly are in a learning mode, and better understanding our preferences, better understanding our values, and better capturing different perspectives. So the idea here is that all these frameworks are very important, but organizations and individuals need to maintain the ability to speak to every framework out there. That's a true impact officer approach. One example I often give is many people might be familiar with the tool called Photoshop, which is a software. We want to make sure a photographer knows photography and can use Photoshop or other tools for the purposes of photography, but we're not going to just teach Photoshop. That's something that is important in the teaching. We want to make sure people are one layer above all these templates and standardized frameworks that are out there, which are very important for communication, for compliance, etc. But at the end of the day, a chief impact officer might be above all of these.
Great. And Wafa, she, her, thank you for that. Really appreciate that question for sure. And again, anybody that's got questions, one of the questions that came in to me and I've fielded before is this idea of networking. You know, we've got this program. How are we driving the networking piece? One of the things that we put into place, and again, Sana will know this, we can constantly are creating fireside chats. I mean, the goal is to have more and more practitioners, more and more people. As Dr. Kashi says, we're looking to build chief impact officers out of this program, or in the case of Sana, empower people that are already in that space measuring. And Sana's wonderfully on her way to her PhD. She's a consultant. But we also bring in other people. And we had Louise Kent, the Chief Impact Officer at Mighty Hum, in for a fireside chat. We're going to hold more and more of these. We have Michaela, who's from Environment and Climate Change Canada, speaking from her chair, this idea of impact as an economist, but also working with the federal government. Coming up, and we'll make sure we invite you to this, Sana, yourself included, Dan Hendry is, he's a social innovator, a facilitator, a communicator, a mentor, but he's got this fantastic thing called Get on the Bus movement. He also does a lot of TED Talks. But and then, of course, we've got Dr. Hugh Lloyd Ellis, who Bahman mentioned. He's Vice President of Canadian Economics Association, a professor, and also a housing market expert. And these are the kind of things that we want to put into place and have put into place to ensure that we're creating and building this community as part of this program at the nucleus, but also expanding it and broadening it beyond that to make sure we have this network of peers and people that are in the program. So again, something that we wanted to ensure that we did as part of this. But if there's no other questions, I want to make sure that you can feel free to send me questions, and I can easily get them on to Dr. Kashi, who's obviously very busy teaching and running Limestone Analytics, but he's also made himself very accessible, as has Dr. Cotton and Dr. Elspeth Murray from the business school. So feel free to reach out to me. And also, I'll be sending out an invitation to upcoming networking fireside chat sessions. And then, those that are joining us, either listening to this in post or you are on the call, we're excited about you joining the program in January. We've got a mini boot camp prep, all part of the program, all included. And that's going to be getting you set up for expectations and understandings of the program that starts in mid-January of next year, so that you're comfortable, you're aware, your calendar's blocked, you understand the workload, and it's designed to be incredibly flexible and mindful and respectful of people out there and busy working people. So I want to say thank you very much to obviously Dr. Kashi as part of this and running the program, but especially to Sana, who took time out of her evening, as it is in Norway, managing the time change that started earlier than we're going to change clocks. But now I think it's about time for your dinner. So thank you very much for your time, for your perspective, for your comments. Really enjoyed having you in the class. You and I were classmates as we were going through this. So I'm delighted that you were part of this program. And I'll also say thank you to Jason in the background who's run this program for us. Dr. Kashi, Sana, and all of you that joined us, big thank you. Much appreciated. All the best.
Thank you, Glenn. Bye. All the best.